Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another episode on our Win Sports for Wounded Warriors video log. And my name is Bernie Sabo. I'm the COO for Win Sports for Wounded Warriors this year. And that program was founded by Carlos Poisky in 2012. So Win Sports for Wounded Warriors has been around a few years. It's a small nonprofit organization that really serves and empowers wounded military service personnel through win sports education. So all types of things, whether it be, mostly it's kiteboarding, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but we've done all types of sailing and windsurfing, et cetera. The mission for Win Sports for Wounded Warriors is to provide emotional support through active camaraderie, similar to what veterans are accustomed to as part of military service. And we're going to hear a little bit today from Neil Bokel, who's one of the earliest retreat attendees. And Neil, welcome. How are you today?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So we're going to talk a little bit about the retreats, but before we do that, give us a little background on yourself. What branch of the service were you in, years of service, maybe where you were deployed, et cetera?
Oh, it was years ago now. I was in the Army for a while, 2002-ish to 2010, give or take. I think I've officially been out longer than I was in, so I'm starting to feel normal again. But just mostly walked around for the Army in different foreign locations, and sometimes stuff was more interesting than it was other times.
How did you get involved with Win Sports for Wounded Warriors? How did you first come across that program?
I had an old Army buddy I used to serve with, Palermo, who hit me up. He worked for a kiteboarding shop, and he was all hyped up about this program about kiteboarding. And when we were in together, I came up surfing, so kiteboarding never happened for me. And when we served together, I had nothing but grief to give him about kiteboarding. So when he called me up about this program, I was like, oh yeah, no, not interested, can't help you. I don't kiteboard, not my thing. He's like, no, I want you to do it, because he really wanted to be a part of it and help, and because he was already an instructor, and he thought I had a good chance of standing up for my surfing background. So I said I'd give it a try. And then I would later find out he was also using it for a little payback for our time in the service, and he sent me into a couple of good tumbles during my training.
Awesome, good. That's awesome. So was the first retreats in Georgia or St. Simons? Where did you go first? They've had a couple of them, and I didn't know which ones you attended.
I was taught to ride up in the Gulf Coast in Florida out of Fort Walton Beach, at a kite beach, they call it locally, Leaside. It's part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. And I went to South Carolina. South Carolina is where I went, and that's where I met Mark, actually. And then I went to I went to the Keys one. That was pretty neat. But yeah, Keys in South Carolina, I think that's where I went. It's been going so long now, like Poisky and I ended up having friendship outside of the program, almost related at some point.
Very good. Yeah. So there've been a bunch of retreats. I know St. Simons. There's been Sullivan's Island. There's been some in the Keys. I'd like to start up the Keys again. I think that's been maybe that could be a reunion of sorts for folks as we start thinking about the upcoming season and so forth. In the retreats, though, give me a little sense about what you experienced. So did you get instruction, and what was your experience in the water or flying the kite, especially if you came up through surfing?
It's a good carrot. So our particular demographic, and it varies for different vets, I'm sure, but you're not always super stoked to go meet new and exciting people, or people in general. And me personally, I don't, but the kiteboarding was kind of just enough of a dangerous, exciting thing to kind of get you off the couch. But what was interesting for me, which I didn't know until I went and did this is kind of one of the first things where I went and did a veteran event. So as a vet, you spend a lot of time couching your stories, because you're trying to explain something, but then you have to explain why that had that sensation to you, or why something, the things that will be funny or scary for some veterans is hard to translate to someone who hasn't been in that scenario. It's like trying to explain a color to somebody who's never seen colors. So then you go to this retreat and you're with a bunch of people with shared experiences. So you actually cut out a lot of the having to catch people up.
Nice.
And that was unexpected. And it was actually kind of nice. So you don't have to qualify everything you're saying or the experiences you have, or, something goes boom and you're not the only person in the room that, shirks your shoulders a little bit. And then I ended up, meeting people that I still talk to this day. I've seen Carlos outside the program. Mark's with me currently. I mean, Mark and I have known each other so long now. I mean, in certain states, we're probably common law married. We've spent enough time together.
Yeah, and Mark came through the program too, I think, and hopefully we'll get him on this program and have a few words. But it'd be nice to hear how he came through, not only as a new beneficiary through the program, but then to become a certified instructor. So I think that was kind of nice that the program got, progressed through the skills to actually master it. So now he's paying it forward by coming back to the retreats as a certified instructor. So I think the program's been well worth it that way.
Yeah, he's gotten considerably better than me at kiteboarding, which is a point of contention because we're good friends, but there's always an underpin of competition. And in this particular aspect, he's considerably better than I am.
I like the way you were teeing up the context, like not having to come up with qualifiers to help, and to sit on the beach even and just be able to relate to others and connect, I think is, to me, what I've seen is the greatest value. The sport is wonderful in itself, but the great value is the camaraderie and the partnerships you guys develop over the years. I think that's great.
It's a break you don't know you need. So, just going shopping, like when I'm gonna go do my Publix runs, I have certain times of the day, certain days of the week that I'll go shopping for the least amount of human interactions. Then I'm kind of running through scenarios just in case somebody stops me or talks to me, because like, these are the correct and polite ways. And then, break eye contact after 15 seconds because people get a little weird if you stare at them hard for a while. But when these in the people you tend to run into, veterans, but not just veterans, the kind of veterans like, yeah, I want to go fly a kite on a wakeboard in the ocean. There's that level of wanton risk that people are willing to take. So you're in a group of people, you don't have to have as many walls up going in or worrying about what you may or may not say, or whether or not your intent will be misconstrued.
And we've kept the retreats intentionally small, so it's not throngs of people. We try to keep it to 7, maybe 10 beneficiaries, veterans, and then marry them up with some instructors, and then you guys build up your relationships from there. So that, I think that small group size is probably appropriate. Do you agree, or you think that?
No, I think you're right, because you spend a lot of time being lost as just a roster number or a serial number and things. It's nice to be called by your name and remembered is always pleasant.
There are a lot of different veteran groups out there that are offering support. This is a small one, and we don't have a lot of gear. It's all volunteer staff and stuff like that. So if you were to talk to maybe the sponsors who already contributed to make this possible, or any sponsors who might be thinking of contributing, what would you say to those folks?
Something that I noticed, because I've gone to a couple of wounded warrior things, like there's various veteran groups, and one thing that I noticed with this group is nobody's making any money, and there's a significant difference when everybody there is only there because they want to be. It's not a job. They're not clocking in. Everybody there volunteered their time, and the only thing they're getting out of it is the experience. And that is a defining difference. It's it's to, not to hark back to the Army, but it's the difference of people who volunteer for a thing. You've got your entry level stuff, but then you got the people who say, oh, I'll jump out of a plane. Oh, I'll try recon, or I'll go to battalion. Like, then when you get to a group of people who volunteered, you're in a smaller group, and you're in a group of people who chose to be there. And that's the difference of everything.
Excellent. And that's probably good advice for veterans who are considering coming to one of these retreats. We're out there actually through the network of folks like Carlos and Nathan and Mark, we're looking to identify folks who might be interested. What would you say to them if they're kind of on the fence of, yeah, I'm not sure I want to go strap on a kite and be dragged across the ocean? What are your thoughts there? What would you tell them?
It's risky enough to be enjoyable. It is a challenge. Like I'm older now, but I got used to being good at things real fast. And the kiteboarding thing, there's a learning curve, and it's initially sharp, and then it levels off, and it's a hell of a feeling. But the most impressive thing from this program is I talk to the people that I've met or who run this program outside of the program. And in any event thing that I've ever done, I've never, Mark's in my house right now. I've been to Poisky's home. I met his kids. That's not common.
No.
And if the best thing I could say about the program is it's full of people I'd hang out with outside of the program.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Right. Nice endorsement. Thank you. We got a couple of retreats coming up. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but keep them in mind as we go forward. This is more for our listeners too. So if they're thinking about exploring or just coming out to see what we're doing, we'll be in South Carolina. I'll get the details out on our social media page. In September. November 4th and 6th, we'll be down in the Tampa St. Pete area, Clearwater area. And then Carlos is already talking about having something up in Georgia in the spring. So we'll look for that. So, I'm excited about getting this going. We kind of had a little lull there for a while, but we're breathing new life into it, and wanted to talk to folks who had first started in the program and your experiences with that. So thanks for taking the time today to do that. Any other thoughts you want to share with the group?
It's worth doing. And I know it's hard to come out of your comfort zone, but this was one of those times that it worked out, and it's continued to work out. And I've got friends now that are lifelong, and they came from the program, which was surprising because that hasn't happened anywhere else.
That's awesome.
It's a group of people that want to be there, and that's the only thing worth doing.
Well, on behalf of Win Sports for Wounded Warriors, thanks again for your time serving our country and taking the time today out of your schedule to meet with our groups here. And hopefully you'll see you on the water soon.
Yeah. I'm not as busy as you might think.
We'll take you. Come on, join up. We'll see you again. Thank you again. I appreciate it, Neil.
Have a good one.